Hi there, everybody. This is Carrie Hamblen, the CEO and president of the Las Cruces Green Chamber of Commerce. And we are excited because we have this series with our pals at Nusenda Credit Union, providing you with helpful financial tips on a number of topics from budgeting and money management to boosting your credit score and what to do with your taxes and so much more. And today we are talking with Adam Hine, who is Chief Financial Officer for Nusenda Credit Union. Hey there, Adam. It is so great to see you. How are you doing?
Good, Carrie. Great to be with you.
It's a fantastic day today. It's beautiful in southern New Mexico, the day that we are recording this. And so we are talking about credit scores, tips, and tricks. And we see this all the time on television, on ways to check your credit score for free to where it doesn't ding your credit score and all sorts of stuff. And so we're gonna talk about the dish on
Awesome.
that
Can't wait.
today. And so, first and foremost, yeah, I remember the first conversation I had about credit scores was when I was in college and I got sent a Visa card, which is
Mm.
good for a college student and then bad for a college student. So, but it's important to start setting up your credit history. And so, is it good to do it at that time and take advantage of those offers, or how should we be strategic about it?
Well, I would tell you it's probably best to do it as young as possible. You don't want to find yourself late 20s, 30s. You're wanting to buy your first house, your first car, and you don't have any credit score. You don't have any credit history whatsoever. You go to get a loan, your credit scores are going to come back as zero. And a lender like Nusenda or any other bank is going to have no idea what type of borrower you are. So the earlier the better. If your parents are able to maybe set you up as an authorized user, maybe when you're younger on a credit card and they use that card responsibly, you'll find yourself maybe an established score by the time you're 18, 19. But starting off with a low limit credit card is a great way to kind of start off your credit history.
Well, and the whole idea is to show that you can pay bills on time,
Exactly.
right?
That's the whole idea. And lenders just want to make sure we're going to lend you money. Are you going to pay us back on time?
Right. And so, in the easiest way that seems to be most accessible is to start off with a credit card because then you demonstrate a practice of paying your bills on time.
Yeah, I would say get a card that you don't want to get a card with too high a limit if you don't have great kind of history and how do you spend your money. Like you don't want a $10,000 card to start with if you're not going to be great at spending money. So I usually tell people open up a card with a low limit, make sure you pay it off every month. That'll kind of help your score and establish history over time.
Yeah. Well, I sent you some questions before we started recording, and I have to say, it's because of personal experience why those questions came up. Because I grew up in a single parent household. I've talked about this before on these. I grew up with a mom who borrowed from Peter to pay for Paul. And so, but we can easily get into bad habits when we have a credit card because especially when you're young, it's kind of like, oh, I got unlimited money. But no,
Exactly.
no, you don't. And so what are some
No.
of those bad habits that we have?
Well, people's relationship with money is probably more driven by psychology and how they grew up than really anything to do with finance whatsoever. So some of the bad habits, honestly, I see most people get into is I'm going to spend money to impress my friends, whether that's their credit card, whether that's a car you can't afford, maybe it's a house you really can't afford. You're trying to impress people with what you buy. And no one cares about your car as much as you care about your car, right? So I tell people that overspending, impulse buying is a huge problem. Just go ahead and impulse buying all the time, not paying off your credit card every month. A lot of people don't know this, but if you utilize more than 30% of your available credit card limit, that's going to hurt your credit score. So if you have a credit card with $1,000 limit, and at the end of the month you have more than 30% of that limit as a balance, so if you have more than $300, that's going to hurt your score. You need to try to keep that credit utilization under 30% if you want to keep your score higher.
Fascinating. That's good to know. But also, if you can pay off your bill the entire
Yeah,
time every month.
pay it every time.
Um,
But it's kind of interesting. Credit card companies submit your payment, your balance history at different times of the month, so you don't really know. Like you could prepay your card every month, but they send your balance to the credit bureaus at a different time, or maybe you had a balance. So you just wanted to make sure you're always utilizing about 30% or lower of that balance, so you don't get caught off guard before you've paid it off that month.
am I the only one who thinks that sounds kind of shady?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. I was just thinking, I was like, wow, can't they be like upfront about when they send your balance so that you
I
know?
know.
You think?
It happens to me every month. I prepay my cards fully, but I'll still show through some of the apps that you mentioned earlier that I still have a balance on my cards. It's like, no, I paid that off. It's like, no, but the time they submitted your data and your payment history, it wasn't in time for you to pay it off first. So just keep your spending low on your cards.
That's just not right, Adam. Let's do something
Not
about it.
saying we do that,
I
but
know,
you do
I
have
know.
some credit card companies that do that. So it
Yeah.
can get
Well,
rough.
it is important though to know about like really kind of it's not like we're getting into the mind of credit card companies, but really to understand
Right.
how they operate so
Yep.
that you can maximize the most, because we see these like credit card offers of zero APR for the first, year, or you get money back every time you spend a certain amount. Um, are those legit things that we should watch out for in a good way or a bad way?
Both. So I would
Okay.
say take advantage of those. Those aren't fake offers. If you have say you have a bunch of credit card debt and you're paying a very high interest rate, some of these cards can be 20, 30% interest rates, right? Some of the cards are some of the big issuers. If you have that and you see an offer of a 0% balance transfer for 18 months, take advantage of it. Move your debt over to 0%. You won't be getting charged any interest for 18 months, but make sure over that 18 months, you are responsibly paying that card down. So when that offer expires and your interest rate jumps up to whatever the card is, you don't have as high a balance as beforehand.
And that's what you've got to really watch out for, is like, what is the percentage that jumps up when
Totally.
that little
Yep. What's the
honeymoon
rate?
period is over? Yeah.
The little teaser rate. Yep.
Yeah. And then also though, but the thing is that this is something that I was always told when I was younger, is like, you want to keep your first credit card because that shows the longest
Yep. It's true.
payment history than your ones that you got 6 months ago.
100%. So if you're looking at your credit score, there are probably five main factors, or there are five main factors that really impact your score. One of them is your credit history and length of history. So if you have that credit card from when you're 18, I always tell people, even if you get other rewards cards you love, don't close that card out, because that's going to be your oldest card and it can go for 10, 20 years just showing you have that credit history on that card. If you did close it after having it open for 20 years, completely drops off your report. They look at your average history on all your other cards, hurt your score a little bit.
Yeah. And so with that though, so if you did have a card that you've had since you were 18, I don't. I actually did that. I closed up most of my credit cards
Mhm.
just because of not really having good money management skills.
Mhm.
And so, but the thing is that if you do have an old, like a credit card that you've had since you were 18, and you want to keep that open, is it safe to just not have a balance on it and just keep it open?
For a time. So after a while, credit card companies have to pay to kind of service that account. So they don't want unused accounts open forever. So if you're dormant, people have different dormancy periods, but maybe it's 12 months without it being used, 18 months, they'll close it. So I sit there and I have a card from when I was 18 and I have one recurring monthly payment. My Netflix hits it. It's been hitting it forever. And I just pay that and it's paid off every month, but it's still used. And so it stays open forever.
Okay. We my wife and I have a friend who is really good at watching those APRs, and she was clever. She was
Oh,
clever. Credit
good
card
for her.
companies didn't like her because she was very clever.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
and she read that fine print, and that's the thing that's really important, is that we often in our Apple user agreements on our phones and on our, we just automatically click I agree and move on because
Yeah.
there's no way we're going to read those 75 pages of stuff. But in the credit cards, it's actually really important to do that because you can find loopholes that
Yep.
are going to benefit you, and then loopholes that are going to spank you later on down the line, right?
Oh, definitely. And the most important one by far is rate. So whenever that teaser rate is over, what is my rate going to be after those 18 months or whatever? But you also want to understand how the rewards work if you're signing up for a rewards card, right? So maybe you lose your rewards if you don't use them over a certain time frame. What people don't understand, we're talking about credit scores, is that a higher credit score can actually lead to better credit card reward offers. So if you have a really high score, you're probably going to get offers for better rewards cards out there than if you had a lower score.
Meaning
But just
better
always,
interest rates as well, right?
yeah, you'll definitely have a better interest rate, but not more importantly, but also to some people, more importantly, they have better rewards too. So really, when you're looking at the fine print, the interest rate is the main thing that matters there for a credit card. That's what you 100% need to understand.
Yeah. I'm always amazed at people who have the brains to be able to follow that. And I just don't have a numbers brain. But I have great respect for that. And so, Adam, as we finish up today with our Nusenda financial well-being tip, if folks have a hard time managing their money, what are some good steps to take when it comes down to building a good credit score or your credit history, but also being really thoughtful and effective in managing your money?
The most important thing by far is to know your score. Start with that. Most people have no idea what their credit score is. So you need to figure out what is your credit score. It's by far the most important measure you can think of to manage your own personal financial well-being is understand your credit score. So if you're a Nusenda member on our app, we show you your credit score every single day. You can, when you're logging in through your app or online, you can see your score. If you're not a Nusenda member, you can go something like Credit Karma is a pretty popular one out there that'll track, monitor your credit, show what the things that are impacting your score, how can you improve your score. You need to get something like that to start tracking your credit. The number one, or probably the second tip I always tell everybody, and no one does this, is to freeze your credit. When you're not applying for loans and you're just sitting around, go into the 3 bureaus and freeze your credit. Because then no fraud will happen, no fraudster will ever be able to apply for a loan in your name. There won't be credit cards going out in your name. And it's a push of a button. You go into the 3 bureaus, TransUnion, Equifax, Experian, and you can freeze or unfreeze your credit by pushing a button. So if you're going to apply for a car loan, make sure you go unfreeze your credit temporarily so you can pull your credit. But as soon as they're done, freeze it back. So nobody will ever be able to open up a card in your name.
Wow. And especially in these times of people identity theft and credit card fraud and all sorts of stuff, that's really good to know.
Yeah, have to do it.
And the thing is that, asking more questions just really is just a phone call away. To whatever
100%.
if Nusenda is your financial institution, these folks are really
Yep.
great, and I'll give the contact information. But it's often that we feel shame. I admit that it took me 5 years to admit to my wife that I'm horrible with managing money, and she's great at it. So it's like lucked out there. But it is this like it's kind of like this thing that we're supposed to know, and we know we're supposed to know. But if we don't know it, then we don't share that we don't know it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's learn it in high school. For some reason, they don't teach anything about credit scores, right? Nothing in high school, nothing in college.
Yeah, we're working on financial literacy though. Yeah, at the state level, because it's something that people need.
Super important
to know.
Have to have it. And YouTube, that's the biggest thing I tell people. YouTube, read articles, go all these sort of things, understand how credit scores work, understand how borrowing money works, tips and tricks to better manage your money. So it's a never-ending journey.
Yeah, it absolutely is. So don't be afraid to ask, and you can always ask your friendly folks at Nusenda or whatever your financial institution is. But it's really important, as much as we hear about it all the time. Now we know the nitty-gritty, thanks to Adam Hine from Nusenda Credit Union. So very grateful to be able to talk with you today, Adam. Thank you so much. If you are interested in learning more about Nusenda's financial well-being tips, they drop every second Monday of the month. And if you'd like more information on the services provided by Nusenda, you can go to nusenda.org or call our local branch here at 575-523-7750, or go to their office at 1715 East University Avenue. You can also find all of our financial well-being tips at locallascruces.com/Nusenda. Thanks again, Adam. I will be talking with one of your colleagues again soon, but also look forward to reconnecting with you again in the future. So thank you so much.
I'd love that. Love the conversation. Thank you.
All right. Have a great day.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.